The United Way is celebrating its 75th anniversary in 2023. And I am very, very happy today to be able to introduce a woman who played a major role in United Way's history. In fact, a groundbreaking role in United Way history. And today we're just going to discuss a little bit and converse a little bit about some of the memories that Marty Ison-Kocos has from her time in the United Way world. Marty, if you don't mind, could you please introduce yourself and just briefly let people know a little bit about your background in the United Way world?
I certainly can, and you all know my name now, Marty Ison-Kocos. I came to the United Way, I was hired as the executive director in 1994, and I came from a United Way funded agency in Washington County, the Council on Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse. So I came to this position with the agency perspective and the donee, so to speak. And I think that brought another perspective to the leadership of the organization. Yes. I was the first woman executive director. Now that doesn't mean that women weren't involved in board leadership and certainly committee leadership, and lots of volunteers were women. But yes, I was the first woman director. And I can remember when I came, we were in an office on 2nd Street, and a gentleman who had been very involved with the United Way had an office down the hall from United Way. And the first day I walked down the hall, he turned around, looked at me, and he said, "Oh, a woman who wears pants." And I thought, uh-oh. And I think I said something smart alecky like, "Oh, well, I had to ride the horse in today," or something like that. And you know, we became good friends. And I would edit. He would come to me with his business letters, and I would edit them for him, because he would always start all of his letters with "gentlemen." And I said, "You can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore." So it was just a learning curve being the first woman.
For everybody?
For everybody, you betcha. But it went smoothly, it went well. I always felt very supported. I was very active during my tenure here. I was very active with United Way of Wisconsin because I learned from the other directors and I'm still very, very close friends with some of the other directors in our area here in United Way Washington County and Oshkosh United Way especially. We go to lunch still, every couple of months. And I learned from them, and I'd go to the conferences and learn things. And I always took a volunteer with me when I would go to a conference where we could have some continuing education. I think that was a really good thing too, because then it wasn't just the director saying we need to do this. It was a volunteer who might be a board member who would come back to meetings and say, let's try this. This seemed like a good idea. And we never went to the same workshops either. We went to different workshops, so we brought home twice as much information. And oftentimes I could get scholarships to go to these conferences because of how small we were. As long as we're talking about that, we had a major honor one year. The Fond du Lac Area United Way won the Gus Shea Award. And if you don't know, Gus Shea was the founder of the United Way movement. I think at the time it might have been called Community Chest or United Fund. But he was a circuit rider, he was a pastor, and he would go into communities and teach people how to organize to help each other, and that's how the whole United Way system started. And this United Way nationally won the Gus Shea Award one year, and I get goosebumps still thinking about that because it was a real honor for us. We couldn't have made it without our volunteers. We had in this community, and I live in a different community now, and I'd like to go on record as saying that Fond du Lac can be as proud as can be about the collaborative spirit that exists here. And it started with organizations like the United Way and the County Social Services Department and AdvoCap and some of the other major organizations who would meet regularly to talk about the need and how we wouldn't overlap with services, but we would collaborate in being able to provide those services. And I think it's continued in that vein. And it was just a good spirit in this community of collaboration. And it starts with our volunteers. Joy, of course, but if I had to sum up my joy here, it would be in one woman. I will not mention her name because we always protected the identities of our donors. But every month I would get not a check, but a $5 bill in an envelope in the mail addressed to me at the United Way every month. So $60 a year, $5 a month. And a note always came with it, and it was written on lined notebook paper, the tablet type. And it was always, thank you for all you do. I'm so happy I can be a part of this. And so every month, now I didn't sit down and write a thank you note to all of our donors. It would be physically impossible to do that. So we did it through newspaper advertising and opportunities to have group thank yous. But I wrote to her every month. And I would say, dear so-and-so, no, thank you. So it was an 11-year run for me as a director. That was one of the best parts of my life, and I will always carry a part of that in my heart. And the staff that worked here with me, the volunteers who just were tireless, and I will not name any because I would forget somebody, and that would be worse than anything else. But I'm just delighted that I was asked to be a part of this opportunity, and I would like to congratulate Amber and you, Bob, and the rest of the volunteers in this community on 75 years, and let's just keep that going.